Good evening. I'm Mutgren and welcome to Dad's Old Job. And today we are, sorry, I'm looking up at my monitor, which is very up high this way. Um, Painting a figurine that I have. I think you can see it on there. Uh, Sorry, just figuring out my modes here. Uh, I have a reference sheet here just for me to see colors, even though they're at a weird viewing angle, so I'm definitely going to mess them up, and I've already started to kind of mess them up a little bit, which is fine. Um, but of Mint Phantom. I 3D printed it, gosh, going on 5, 6 months ago, and I just have not gotten around to it until I did some of it recently. My frame is a bit narrow, so I'm just trying to get in there. I also have it like bookmarked, but I can't find the bookmark of who made this 3D print. I spoke with them. I thanked them. They're very nice. And it's a good print. It only failed because I failed because I kept naming files wrong and kept printing the wrong ghosts. Because there's little ghosts here that I've made, which are the wrong color because they are the wrong color because the figure there. Wow, this camera is struggling to color match this. Yikes! It's a lot of contrast. These aren't as blue as they seem. They're not as vibrant. They're a little duller. Just because the effect that they're going for is very hard to get without an airbrush. You could totally do it. I'm not confident in doing that. I think if I were to, for the little ghosts, it would be like a dry brushing white over parts, and I'm just not that skilled. I don't have the time. These blues is fine. I did forget that there's a third ghost on the base, and I definitely had to mix to get this color. Because the teals that they use on the reference sheet, it's not a very common paint color. It's used for like, it's like a bright pastel, which for miniatures isn't very helpful because they don't come across super well, and a lot of people don't do miniatures in pastel. I've seen them; they exist. They're just not common colors. So we're gonna have to do a fair amount of color matching. This is what I did last night. Just trying to get to the teal of her like leotard and arms and stuff like that, and I am not close. I mean, I have an idea of where to go, but a lot of this stream is just going to be mixing paint until we get something close and then making a bunch of that paint, and saving paint is the hard part. I can do it, but mostly I'm just gonna have to remember whatever ratio I did in case I don't get done all those parts tonight. There's some of it like around the skirt there. Is it the front of the skirt? Yeah. Where it shows like a teal and let me see. Does it even come up on here, or is this a different design? Okay, this might be closer to her 2.0 design. I forget exactly which. 2.0. As you see, the skirt has alternating green and brown, and that's not built into here. And I don't want to freehand that, so I could just make that one color, and I don't really mind a whole ton. But if I were to do both, I could do the brown after. That's not a big deal. So what we're going to do is worry more about the teal. I'm just scraping through these because I know they have some of them have still some varnish. Here we go. Varnish is nice because it will come up in one big sheet once you get it. Paint isn't like that, like you see on this gold, like it's gonna flake and chip, and but that's because varnish is a protective coating. So, of course, it forms a film. That would make sense. So, I'm going to get just my biggest nasty brush, because what we're going to be doing for this first part is just color matching. Once again, at a weird angle, so I'm going to take it out on my phone as well, and just keep that off to the side, in case I get any embarrassing text messages. Which I likely won't, but you never know. Let me see how close the color is from what I'm seeing. Oh, yeah, no. It's similar, but not as bright. Okay. Okay. So let me just get some paper towels here. Thankfully, it did cool down. It was very hot. I was definitely thinking about streaming with my shirt off, but then I remembered I use a lapel mic, and I can't do both. I need the lapel. Hey, how's it going, Suki? I couldn't stick around to the end. I had to put daughter to bed, but plan to watch the rest later. It was interesting. Brewing is, I think, a really cool hobby. It's just one that if I get into one more thing, especially something that has me leaving stuff around the house, I'm always going to have my head. So we are just doing painting of a figure, and right now we're color matching based off of the teal there, because I know I have a, as you see on the base here, there's a little ghosty boy. Let me get my OBS right in frame here. Little ghosty boy down there, if my camera can decide what to focus on, who should be painted similar to these, but I forgot that they existed. Which, kind of sad for them that I forgot they existed, but oh well. So we're just going to barrel straight ahead to what I need custom paint for, because the Mint Phantom color scheme is not standard green for miniatures. Yeah, this is, I forget I feel bad, because I should have looked up the name of the guy that made this 3D print. Person? I think it's a guy, but person. Because I actually had spoken with them, because I believe they made a different one that I also downloaded of somebody else, and it was really good. And, I was like, thank you, this is really cool, and, I'll show it off when I'm done. Because, people that make stuff like to hear that, like to know that their stuff's appreciated. So we're going to start with this really bright green, even though I know it's not everything I need, and that was just one big brush of it. I guess this is also the upside of doing this on a stream, is that I have a record of what I've done, instead of just my faulty memory. So it is a bright color, so that's a lot of that. We're going to use this blue-green just to shift it. There was like two colors. One, Vallejo makes a type of green that is pretty close to this, but it will not come in time for the stream. Because what I really want this for is I want to get this done by tomorrow night, which I think I can, for an art thing that should put out for a different project. So we'll see. Probably won't get done, but we're going to try. We're going to shoot for it. I meant to do a lot of the stuff earlier, but then had complications come up, which is normal. So we got sort of a green with some blue in it now. And now we're just going to... I have two different whites here. A silver gray, which is a white, and a white. So we're going to start with this one, because this droppers are just easier. So we're going to lighten that up. And this is actually too big of a brush to mix from here on, so we're going to use... I have a flat brush. Here we go. And we can take some of this water here and just swirl it. It's like, on one hand, I'm very thankful that camera's color correct, but on the other hand, it's kind of a nightmare right now. Just like a little bit of a nightmare. I just want to get that really well integrated. So I actually have an idea of what the actual color is. And then I gotta check it against my work here. Definitely needs more blue. So we're gonna go back to that blue-green. And let me not bring my paintbrush up high enough to hit the webcam. Because I had to lower it for the stream. Also because I think it looks better lower for this, because you don't need the whole shebang. I have a lot of table. So we're going to get close, and then I'm going to hit it with the really white paint that I have. So there's, I have some friends that were getting into Battletech, and a couple of them got interested in painting, and they were really frustrated about white paint in specific. Because painting white and yellow, to another extent, are kind of terrible, especially as a newbie. Because the pigments that you have to use for those come out really chalky. So it's really hard to make them smooth. They show up brush lines, like they can be a nightmare. So I had a friend that was using pure white paint for white parts on miniatures. And he didn't believe me at first. I'm like, don't do white. Do like a light gray. Like if you're going from a warm color, like a bone, do a brown undercoat to like an eggshell. Or if you're doing like a cold white, like tile or something like that. You want to go from like a blue-gray down to a lighter blue, like a lighter gray. And he's like, and then after enough times getting frustrated, he tries it, he goes, yeah, this is perfect. It's like, I know it's not the right color, but it looks the right color. And, I had to tell him that's because it looks like the right color because your eyes are terrible at distinguishing color. Um, they don't mean to be. Sorry, I'm just shaking these. These have little, I put little BBs in these to make sure these stay integrated. There we go. But your eyes do everything comparatively. Kind of like how a camera does autofocus and auto color correction. You're like, it is hard to see and visualize and experience pure tones of color because that's not how we work. In general, we work in comparison to the rest of the environment out there. Oh, that's probably a little bit much. I can always add more later. Yeah, let's start with this much. And he was, you know, he got his Lance and mechs together, and they look really good. He still beats himself up, but he doesn't need to. Oh yeah, totally. It's all colors, and like, I always hesitated to use the word color theory because I am not an artist. I am the farthest thing from an artist. I'm just stubborn. That's why my 1.0 model was actually, I had a 1.0 before the 1.0. That was all hand drawn by me, just because I was stubborn. Because I was like, I'm not an artist, but it doesn't matter. You can figure stuff out. Yeah, anything you can do at practice. So that model that I had before this one, I actually took it like a year and a half getting done. But I don't kick myself about it because eventually I learned how to rig and do all that stuff, and that was very helpful, especially when I went and paid for a model, because it helped me better know what I wanted and what could be achieved. Also, because I got the model for a steel, I didn't want to put too much effort or specificity for it, because the person was basically doing me a solid practice for them and a solid for me. Okay, this is getting really close. The color theory always sounded like such a, actually this might be it, like highfalutin hoity-toity concept, but you're totally right, it's what it is. I also have some friends who are better miniature painters than me, and they give me so many pointers, and they're so good at it, and all they do is neg themselves about it. And I just want to wring their necks. Like, be proud of the stuff you do. Yeah, just this. I've had people like that I speak with that try stuff. They're like, I didn't like it, so I wasted time, and it's like. Also, I tell this to people who like don't eat new stuff at restaurants. It drives me crazy. But the fact that you tried something and found out that you didn't like it still means you got something out of that encounter or whatever. It means you found out you didn't like it, which is totally fine. All right, so we are pretty close to that color match. It doesn't seem it because this thing keeps color correcting. I think it wants more light. I'm going to try to bump up the light. Let's see how it goes. We're going to bump up that light. Okay, that helped a little bit. It also washes out everything. Light's a double-edged sword. Okay, but yeah, this is much closer. So I'm going to just take a gander at what I need to do. So the apron, the lower part of the apron. Actually, is this one apron? I'm trying to compare it, and it's not a perfect one-to-one. So the apron only actually has one level, which is fine. Okay. So this is the top. I feel like I am missing an apron level. Am I missing an apron level? Hold on. Let me yeet this together real quick. No, I'm not. Okay. Well, then I have a choice to make. So we have the cummerbund. I'm going to look at it on my screen because it's closer. Okay, so the cummerbund is white and connects to a skirt that doesn't exist here. Perfect. Yeah, green is fine. We'll do the green. Yeah, that sash in the middle there. Here we go. That like sash that's in the middle. I don't want to drop it in the paint. Come on, focus. Like right here. That's called a cummerbund. At least I know it is in men for like tuxedos and formal wear. And I always thought that was just a funny word. All right, so we're gonna start with that because it's quick, it's easy, and I have it right here. These models have already been primed, and this is going to be a pretty easy coat. Don't need to do a lot here, just make sure it's the right consistency. I didn't bring down any of the paint medium, which sometimes is helpful. Okay, so it's going to be a 2-coater, which is fine. It's a thin paint, sort of, with white, so a lot of white mixed in, so multiple coats is not unexpected. So I'm just trying to be careful around the ruffles, because the ruffles aren't going to be, they're supposed to be white. I can always come back over them because this is a pretty light color, but the less that I get on there, the less I have to fix later. If it was something like a dark blue, or if I was doing the brown on the apron, I'd be a lot more critical about where my line ends, because when you're coming from like white to brown to try to get back to white, that is a color nightmare. I dislike that so much. Alrighty. And this is actually shrunk. This is supposed to be a bigger miniature, but I did a bigger miniature from the same, I believe it's the same creator. I have to double check that. But in the material that I used, the stuff for the 3D printing resin, it doesn't like heat. So in my basement where it gets kind of warm, if it gets too hot, it will start to bend. So I have it behind me. I haven't shown it on stream, I don't think, but it's like leaning over because just the casual time and heat and the weight of it, because it's very top heavy. It balances just on one leg because it's a very dynamic pose. But it causes it to bend. So I figured by printing a smaller mini, I can avoid that, or at least the worst of it. Okay, so one part of it that I was looking at is so the arms are easy. I'm just looking at where else is green. The arms are green, and the top of the chest is green, or the chest itself is green. And otherwise, that's kind of it for this green. I mixed up so much of it, I guess because it just looks like so much. But so the end of her hair also has this green on it, and that's kind of hard to do. I feel like I have to dry brush that in. And that'll be a fun attempt, I guess. A fun attempt to try. These are kind of weird shapes, so I'm gonna, I guess, do these in 2 halves. Let me just mix this up here. I'm just adding water because I do have a fan going. I did some sound tests and I couldn't hear it, so if it is coming through, let me know. Just because it was so hot down here. I have the same problem in my 3rd tier office, like where I stream when I do games in. It just gets so hot that I need to have something up there. I think it got to 120 over the last week. And when I ran my game on Saturday, after 5 hours of the AC being on, and the fan on, and me running a game of Starfinder 2E for people, it was still 85 degrees in that room for my computer sensors, which is too dang high. The temperature, too dang high. I do like this brush, but I feel like for these front coats, I'm not getting enough paint on it. Yeah, I gotta switch up. Oh, good, good, good. I'm just switching to a slightly bigger brush, just to speed this on. Okay, we got the good brush here. The monster brush. Army Painter names their stuff based off what you paint with it. And will it ever... Yeah, monster. And it is this big. It's not even close to the biggest brush that I have, but in general, for miniature painting, 28mm is a standard. So anything that has big enough surfaces like this would generally be a monstrous creature in that game. Generally. One day when I get back into Warhammer 40k, I'll end up painting more monstrous things. I I have some Titans from when the Imperial Knights first came out. Back, probably like 6 years ago at this point. 7 years ago, I picked some up. And they're really cool, and I like playing with them. I just have issues with the rules of the game. I think it's just not for me at this time, but the editions change so often anyway, so I just kind of have to wait. But I have some nice looking robots that I started to do like a orange hazard paint scheme, and I would like to finish that. Also, I bought like 3D printed stuff to help track wounds, and now I have a 3D printer. So, times have changed. I would love more cooling. The reason why we don't have more cooling is the house that I'm in is like over 100 years old. So it has its own advantages because it's so old, because it was built before air conditioning was standard. So like they built it in an arrangement where I can get through breezes. Like a lot of houses now are just kind of built without taking into account the nature around it, because I assume you always have heat and light and yada yada. So there's things that it can do, but the way that we live is not consistent with that. So also because it is 100 years old, a lot of the insulation started to break down, and that's a project for another time. We'll get that checked out after our heater eventually kicks the bucket. So when the heater kicks the bucket, probably looking at getting like a heat pump split unit or something like that, just to have it come through the walls, because getting ductwork in these old houses is a pain in the butt. And there's also like just not the room for it. Like more modern houses have room for it, and ours does not. Like it was such a pain in the, like on the third story, because that's where my main PC is. I had to drill through the floor to hardwire my internet in because I didn't want to do Wi-Fi, and that was such a pain in the butt. Also, my father-in-law was so irritated with me. It's like, why do you need to do this? It's like, because I'm compulsive. Also, I bought this house. With, help from you. And thank you, but my house. Yeah, they couldn't have seen the future, that you would just have an ice box or, something like that just in there doing it. On the third story, there's actually a space where the, what would you call that? Like a stove would have been, for keeping that room warm in the winter, because it does get very cold in the winter. It's very hot in the summer, very cold in the winter. But there's a spot where you can see where the stove was, which is pretty cool. It's gonna be so hard to keep these ruffles white. I'm gonna have to fix those later. We're just gonna get as much of this done as we can. Am I in frame? Yes, I am. Okay. That's the hardest part about painting streams, is just making sure that I'm in frame. Also, that the camera focuses on what I want it to. You think it would, do the thing that's being dynamic or in the center of the shot, but it really likes the wood table. And to be fair, I like it too. I made it. So, I'm partial. I have a big bias here. That's why I think my daughter's the sickest kid, but I have bias. We made her. But also, we've been very lucky. Our daughter's pretty chill. Part of that is I did, like, stuff revolving around, like, childhood development and stuff like that for, like, a bunch of years as a career, so knowing about some of this stuff ahead of time really helps. Yeah, and also just how they did stuff. Like, my house is lath and plaster. So, like, my daughter's room needs to get redone, and I really want to redo it in the same style. So, in, like, 2 years, when they go on a trip and I have, like, 4 days that I can take off or something like that, or have off, I'm just going to tear down that part of the wall that is not attached to it and just learn the lath and plaster it back up. Because, like, everybody's like, oh, just drywall it. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to. I want the historical quality of the home, you know? Like, also people don't like it because it's inconvenient, not because it's bad. And I'm willing to be inconvenienced at this scale. Like if I had to, like if a wall collapsed and I had to get it fixed, I'd probably end up doing drywall because, you know, money's money. But if I have the time, I could do that. Also, plaster's pretty cheap. And lath isn't too expensive either. I mean, it's just a little... I don't even know why I'd buy lath. I mean, they're not too bad. I have a bunch of stuff on them. You just need to do mollies on them. And as long as, like, the backing on them is fine, like they haven't had any water intrusion or anything like that, they're not, like, slipping away from the walls. They're a pain in the butt. You gotta have the right tools, and they don't want to hang free. But I haven't had any problem with them. I could see how they'd be an issue, though, especially once again when you get to lath and plaster that is, I'm going to use the word compromised. Alright, so that's green. I'm just waiting for that to dry, and then I can put a second coat. Let me just get a little more water in the paint just so it doesn't dry on me. But I will say, you're probably dealing with more ductworks and stuff than I am. I do it as a hobbyist, so I'm sure you get a much wider cross-section of what's actually out there. And some deep lore about my previous job. At one point, I was a certified lactation consultant. Weird, I know, weird certification for a dude to have, but I was. And I did not renew it because I'm not in that field anymore. And it's wild. You think women won't want to hear a dude talk about breastfeeding. Surprising that we're open to it. But also, sometimes as a dude, you gotta know when to be quiet. Like, I obviously helped my wife, but there was a point where I was just like, we're gonna go to a CLC, certified lactation consultant, like somebody with a higher cert than me. Not because they're gonna tell you anything different, but because it's not gonna be me. Because I know you at this time do not want to hear me talk about this. You know, put the ego to the side. Downside, still breast milk in my fridge. Wife won't get rid of it. She wants to make jewelry with it. I get it. I get it. She already has some, but we looked it up. The company that did her first piece was closed not too long ago, which is a shame, but there's other places that do it. But it's just chilling there. I'm just like, I want to use that space, and I can't. It's not free space. But definitely worth it. I mean, we've been, once again, very lucky. Not many illnesses or anything like that, so. Not that it wouldn't work, but definitely has benefits. Did have to sell it to the wife. I think the part of it that worked to at least get her to start was gonna sound so mean and manipulative when I say it like this, but I showed her pictures and videos from Hurricane Katrina and people sheltering in the Superdome and going, well, if there is an emergency, then we're totally reliant on somebody else in an emergency sphere to make sure that our child can be fed. Or we can take the time and the work to make sure that that is always in our control. So, kind of feels manipulative when I say it so cleanly, but all's well that ends well. She's proud of it to this day. Alright, I'm just giving the second coat. Wherever it's kind of thin, I'm just going over a second time just to make sure it's all covered. And I'm hoping... Oh, I keep jumping out of frame. Sorry, my arm keeps jumping out of frame there. Ah. I don't know why this paint's drying so quickly. It's like skinning on me. Okay, so it dries a little bit darker than the mint green that I thought, but it's fine. Once we get everything else on here, it should be fine, especially once we get the contrast. I think the back is fine. Let me just hit this, hit the back. Okay. Alrighty, so let me just check my miniature here. Or my reference frame here. Alright. So a lot of this stuff is just kind of white. Anything ruffly ends up being white, except for actually the ruffles on the cummerbund are black or dark brown. I think they're black. Okay. So, but this is probably the last of that green that we're gonna need. Oh no, the hair. I'm a fool. The hair. So, where is... Okay. So on the very tips of the hair, there is green. So we're going to dry brush that in. Oh god, that laid it right where I needed it. Perfect. Did that thing where you like drop a screw when you're like, I'm definitely not going to drop it. Fool. Fool. So dry brushing is a probably I'd say beginner level technique for miniature painting. In general, it makes most stuff look pretty good. It composes of taking your worst brush, and it's actually better that is a worse brush. You take it, you make sure that every bristle has some paint in it, your brush, you saturate it, and then you run it until it just barely comes off. There you go. And it's towards the tips. So we're just going to go back and forth on the tips here. Not too heavy. But this technique catches all the raised edges. Which is why it's very useful. It won't get into crevices unless you overdo it. And you can change how much it picks up by your angle of attack. Like going down this way, going downhill towards the bottom of the hair here, there's little hooks that come out. So if I dry brush down, it'll hit the ridges on the hair, and then it will hit those hooks really hard. Meanwhile, if I go across like this, it'll hit every individual hair strand. So I'm kind of doing like a crosshatch thing. Okay, that's probably fine. And then on the bottom here, similar, just doing crosshatch on the bottom. Does she have any on her bangs? No, it's only on the sides here. And once again, you can concentrate it in places, so I want to concentrate it towards the tips. With a little bit of climb upwards. Alright. Oh. You get to see it in the front, too. Okay. I'm not going to worry about the inside because that's going to be glued to stuff. Okay, just kind of hitting over just to feather it a little bit. I don't want it to go higher up, but I just want it to have a easier gradient in. You know, I think if you you could run that like a jelly beans thing, where you drop a bunch of screws and then you get one of them rolly magnets and roll over the area that you think you dropped them and how many you picked up. For the thing that I have for my shower to lower the height of the shower head for my daughter for her showers, it uses two. I don't think thumb screw is the right one. The ones that look kind of like what do you call those? The ones that kind of look like maple seeds. What are those type of wing nuts? Wing nuts. It's a pair of wing nuts. That I have there just to like really easy by hand tighten, loose, and get it into place. And man, I drop those half the time, and I'm just so happy that we have a drain that will cover that. I am going to go change the water in this really quick. I will be right back. One. I returned. All right. Okay, so we have that done. We have that done. The next step, I believe, is sorry. As you see on my phone, I'm just looking up here. I was very careless there. Now we could do the flesh tones. They're probably pretty easy. Because the only other like big thing is I have to make more blue, but I'm gonna do this without any more mixing on stream. So I think the color of the skin is kind of going towards this, but we're gonna use this. I think the smart move actually is to start with this and then finish with this and two coat it. That's probably, I think, the way to get the best finish out of this. And let me just scrape out the red here. Yeah, also because like I sit at I'm like sitting on my saw bench, which is 18 inches tall, 20 inches tall. It's not super tall. In front of my table, it's 36 inches tall. And to the ceiling, I have my monitor mounted. Uh, because of viewing angles, it changes how color comes through. In addition to color matching. So I can look up there, but it's not going to give me a super accurate display of the color. And I only changed stuff here because I'm changing from blues to fleshes, like blues to browns. If I was still in like the blue-brown or blue-green sphere, I wouldn't mind using the same order. So I'm going to go into completely different like color realms and warmth that I worry about changing order. I used to do it all the time for every color, but then I was watching a painting tutorial from Duncan Rhodes, he was like the staff painter for Games Workshop for decades before he left over things. I don't know why. But I just saw him kind of willy-nillying it. I was like, well, if it's good enough for the master painter for GW, I can stop complaining about it. And, there's a reason he's a master. Totally right. All right, so for flesh, we have... Okay, so this one... Does this go full sock? I'm assuming it matches, because there's no way to tell if it's a sock that is only a garter that ends. Man, it does a really good job of focusing on the hands, but not so much on items here. There we go. No, come back. You can't tell if it's a garter that just exists on a leg, like it shows on the picture on the left leg. Oh, this is the left leg. Or if it's a full sock, like on the right leg. Just no way to tell. Just no way to tell. So we're just gonna match the reference image here. And just go up. And there's some places that have bumps on them from when it was 3D printed, and I did not bother getting rid of those because they're in places nobody will see. Although, funny story, when I showed at the last summer party I had, I showed them the figure that I painted. One of my friends immediately looked up the skirt, and I'm like, aha, you're a pervert. He's like, aha, you drew underwear on it. I'm like, yeah, that was on the reference sheet. I had to. Came out and printed. It'd be weird if I didn't. I think it's weirder to be weird about that. But you're the one who looked up. So then we all laughed at him. Good time was had. We're getting up to the summer one, this summer's party. Um, I gotta make the axe targets. In addition to some other things, we're having, we think, the first annual friend combine. This all started basically because we wouldn't tell a friend he's as good at basketball as LeBron James, which, considering the fact that we're not friends with LeBron James, should be self-explanatory. But he believed that he would give him a run for his money. So we started arguing about intangibles. So we're going to get a list of intangibles. We're going to do, height. We're going to do height of jumps, like a high jump. And that one's easy. We just do that based off of the axe throwing target. So that'll be easy to get. I just, extend it a little bit, put some markers on it. Bada bing, bada boom. The next part of that is, sorry, I'm just looking at the reference here. Weight. So I was originally going to get a weight bench, or borrow one, and we'd go based off of a certain weight, because the NFL Combine uses 225 pounds as the bench press, which is too heavy for, I would say, all of us. I'm sure if we needed to, we could move it, but for just a backyard party where people will be inebriated, probably shouldn't have them yeeting around, trying to yeet 250 or 225 pound benches. And also, there'll be people who definitely cannot do that, but we still want them to be able to participate if they choose. So, figure, this is me that's spitballed this, but we'd go off of 90 pounds, because that's the poundage of my anvil. And still haven't been able to find a bench to rent, because I don't want to buy one for that, because I just go to the Y if I want to lift. But I have an anvil that weighs 90 pounds, so we're just going to call them anvil presses. So that makes it sound like I didn't just make it up. That's a pretty good name. It's good branding. And then the last one, and I think the one that'll be the most spectacular, will be the 40-yard dash, which is the most exciting of the Combine events. I'm sure we will see many people have rolled ankles and regret, me probably included, as I have not run at a full sprint for a while. Maybe to get for my card through a rainstorm, but not like, 40 yards. So we'll see. Like I said, it'll probably be funny. I anticipate it being funny. So, but I still got to make the targets. Target. Usually one's enough. Oh, that is a mold line. I didn't realize that was a mold line. We're going to pretend like I didn't see it, and then I don't have to cut it. Especially this late into it, because I definitely cannot reprime it. It's okay that it's coming off a little patchy and thin. That is totally fine. This is really supposed to be an undercoat, to just provide some body to the coat that's going to go above it. Okay, we're going to let you dry. And where else is flesh? Legs are the big part. We have some of the shoulders here with the body. That's going to be a smaller brush, right? Probably. The face. I was looking at the face, and the reason why I laughed is because of how it prints, sometimes it can leave little artifacts. Because it prints in layers, like micron thin layers. And on the very forehead, let's see if it ever goes in. There's a little dot there. That is literally just the top layer of that print. Wow, it's really washed out. I wish you'd focus. It's very small. And the light is also blinding it, but we're just gonna paint over it and hope that covers it. And I really don't want to drop the head into the paint. So I'm probably going to come back and try to get it out of the eyes, out of the eye wells. Alrighty. And then, so I'm definitely going to have to come back into the eyes. Let's see if I can just flip it out here. Okay. Perfect. Got the face, at least that undercover. And what else? Its shoulders. Are the shoulders part of the body? They are. Okay, cool. I'm actually going to go to a smaller brush for this. Or at least not a flat brush. This flat brush is very helpful, but because of its flat tip, it's a little bit weird. Also doesn't hold as much as a brush its diameter could because of that. It like limits the cross-section. I'm just also looking into the chest piece to see how much flesh is actually visible. I think it's just the arm, underarm, and everything else is white. Actually, I'm going to go for a smaller brush here. Just going to try to soak it up. There we go. We're going to get it nice and close. This is an actual detail job for an undercoat, which feels stupid, but the way it is. I did finally get some more peas. They are safely in the back of the fridge, so I don't spill this amount of peas on the ground when I take something out of the freezer again. If one more harvest will have me have enough for a meal for 2, which is what I'm after. And hopefully it keeps going. I've actually been more interested, and this is, so I had some radish seeds left over, and I just yeeted them into a part of the garden that I didn't have any use for, just to give some competition to weeds, just as like a cover. And a lot of them have either died or moved, or I've taken out and eaten. But I've left one radish to grow, and that thing is tenacious, and I did not realize radish plants grow that big. It is like 3 feet. And it is like winding and sinuous, and it does not want to die. It has a thirst for life that I respect. And I fear it a little bit. I think I should be fine because it is just a plant, but I was not expecting it to snake around as much as it has into the yard. And my corn came up and is finally silking. It had started to do tassels, but they hadn't dropped yet. And tassels don't matter until the silk comes anyway, because each silk of a corn leads to a kernel. So each one of those needs to get pollen on it so that that turns into a kernel. So eventually enough of them have come, because you can have them self-pollinate, but I think it's better for them if they don't self-pollinate. So I got to do some manual pollination today, where I took a paintbrush, went to each of the tassels, hit it on the tassels, brought it back, you know, touched every silk, flipped it over, just so that every silk can get touched, because the patch is a little bit small, and they're not all growing at the same rate. So some of them are like a week or 2 behind some of the smaller plants that are more crowded in, but they want to be closed for this. So I'm just making sure that they stay damp, and also we're pretty blessed that we're not getting too much rain. So that's what ruined the last crop, was just there's too much rain at once, and it made it so that there was no time for the wet tassels to or the stuff to pick up stuff without it getting rinsed away. 4 feet, huh? I have one that I left in the ground, and it's only like a foot. It's not grown as much as the regular like breakfast radish. I mean, I guess I could see it. Their roots get pretty big. What was I saying? Oh, and I didn't take a picture of it because I left my phone in somebody that did it, but like a third of my carrot seeds have germinated. Not a third, a fifth. Because I planted them in like diagonal lines, so I can trace the lines of where they were, which is a huge win, especially because I've only put them in last week, so it's been about a week, and I expected them to take longer to germinate. So I'm sure there's more that will germinate. These are just the early risers, and also I'm sure I didn't evenly space everything. And the sweet potato plants in the back are crazy, and I just haven't gotten back there yet. I just want them to smother that area. Even if they don't give me more producible sweet potatoes, as long as they smother that area with from weeds, I don't care. And I need to make a system of climbers for, I think they're cucumbers. They're part of the same family, that cucumber family that has melons in it. So I definitely planted them. They're in a straight line, and that's how I know I planted them. But I forget exactly what I planted. But they're but they're getting them on the lawn, so that means they'll get cut by the yard guys. So I have to build a trestle for them to climb on this side, even though they won't like it because it won't be sunny and they'll try to go through it anyway, but whatever. I can only do so much. And the tomatoes are doing good. Their flowers are out. They haven't produced any tomatoes yet. Probably expect that to happen in the next 3-4 weeks. I'm just waiting for some of this paint to dry before I continue with the paint. Was it last year my father-in-law came up in like October, and I had planted some tomatoes in September, and they were just green. And he's like, there's no reason to do them. You might as well dig those up. I'm like, yeah, but also there's no harm in letting them be there. I got tomatoes until November. Like, they lasted way longer than I would have imagined. But part of that is just I feel like our growing seasons have shifted. But they did well, even through a light frost in November. They did good. And I was cleaning out the front raised bed to grow chili peppers. I had some chili pepper seeds that I wanted to grow up there. And I had scallions in there, like green onions. And I have some other type of like aster or lily that is tenacious. I weeded it yesterday, and there was new stuff up out of the ground. And it has like really deep roots, but it's part of that like aster lily family that like roots pretty deep and sends bulbs up and stuff like, or from bulbs and comes up. I don't know what it is. I'm just hoping to eventually tire it out. But I was picking at those, and I picked one up, and I'm like, oh man, this isn't a weed. This is a baby green onion, because I let them go to seed, because I was like, doesn't hurt anybody if they go to seed. And it was the first like green onion plant that I had gotten that was like separate from the other bunch. So I ate it on the spot because I felt bad, but they were doing good. But hopefully I get chili peppers from that. And I do have some beets still. I ate one yesterday. They're delicious. Beets are amazing. And they're easy to grow. And when you harvest them, as long as their tops are good, you can eat the beet leaves too. You just like cook them down. I love them. They're so good. Yeah, man. I don't like the bed that they're on, which is what's like wigging me out, is they were growing from the soil, and then I put the raised bed around it, because the raised bed is just a frame. It's just a frame that I made, and then filled it with like a foot of dirt, and they don't care. They're just like, no, I guess I'll just grow that extra foot. And they have moved up in the soil line a little bit, but they're tenacious. Once again, I'm impressed by their vibrancy, but annoyed by their presence. Same thing with pokeweed. I'm so tired of pokeweed. If they could stop, I'd be very happy. All right, so we got the greens done. All right, we're going to go back to the flesh tones here. And I need a new cell here. Oh, I actually need to have some more green here that I need to paint. Just a little bit more. Make sure that this is wet enough. A little bit on the cuffs is just not fully covered. And then we're going to hit this one. This one needs a little bit more love. All right. That should be perfect. Unless I ever need to paint this green again, in which case, good luck to me. Oh, no, I touched it and I just said it left green. Did it leave green on the face? Please tell me it didn't leave green on the face. No, okay, cool. This is why I like to leave them in the little cubbies. I felt so silly. At work I had a, yeah, eating pokeweed is such a, like, I could, but the amount of steps, I'd rather just not. Like, it's all that for not very good, you know? Like, there's two places that pokeweed existed, and it was in the poor rural South in Appalachia. And there's a reason why it existed there for as long as it did. Like, I'm sure my grandma knew about pokeweed, but none of the family after that, because, you know, after that, you could just get collard greens and they were easier. Or mustard greens, all those things that are easier and actually taste better anyway. There we go. Let me just use this one. After I give it a little finger scrub here. And we're gonna go with the color name is not flattering. Pallid witch flesh. But it should look fine over top the color that we have there. And this stuff does not need to be thinned very much. I feel like I've done this in the past where I've seen this. Need to thin my paints, thin it, and then it doesn't cover, like, at all. Like, it needs a little bit of water, but so little water. I was running my game of Starfinder for people last week, and I was describing a scene, and I said water. I said water, and just in text chat, just them teasing me, water, because they went to college around where I live, and they got used to hearing it because of there, and when they move, they don't hear it anymore. And they're like, "Oh, make me miss where we left." It's like, well, if you ever get a chance, you're more than welcome to come back. Have all the water ice you want. But, you know, super regional U.S. accents, right? All right, let's start with the legs. I think that is dry, but let's start with the legs because we did those. Oh, there's a big part that. Oh, it touched the ground. Oh. We're going to cover that and then I guess go to the body. Because I was silly and did not put that in a cup. So the paint came off onto the table. You're all dry, right? Yeah. I think this year I'm going to try to go to PAX Unplugged. I haven't been in a few years. With the new Starfinder edition coming out, there'll probably be something fun there. I also have some people that I haven't seen in a while that I think are going to be there. I went to Gen Con a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, and that was great. Don't know if I'd ever get to go again. Just because it's a lot of time and money, but... Or volunteering. Because I know if you volunteer, a lot of places will pay for your hotel room. But, like, then you're working, and then that's different. I want to have the luxury of just going and lying down. Okay, this does need, like, a splash of water. The reason why I'm thinking it needs a splash of water is because it was really tracing my my brush strokes, which means it's kind of thick. Like, it should trace them a little bit when I'm going, but it should, like, quickly, like, level out, and it wasn't quickly leveling out. This is why this one's hard, because I just don't want to touch the other shoulder. And PAX Unplugged is a board game convention, traditional gaming convention, in Philadelphia. So, and everybody's more familiar with, like, PAX East and, you know, Boston and all that, but the board game one is the one I get more out of anyway. Actually, like, half my wardrobe is t-shirts from Gen Con, because when I went, oh, the neckline. You know, we're going to do an experiment. We're going to just paint the neckline with this color. Wait, is there... Oh, no, that's a frock. That's not the actual neck. Okay. Um, oh, Magfest. Oh, I have a friend that goes to Magfest every year. He loves it. Uh, the only time that I regret not going to Magfest, oh sorry, this is going to sound multiple times, but um, like Magfest, just I don't get it. But every so often I see that like a performer that I haven't seen in years, like a musical artist, had played there for some reason. I'm like, man, I wish I could see them. It sounds so cool. This color I'm not too worried about getting out of the eye wall because it is so close to white. Trying to get behind the ears, on the face. Avoid any bubbles, and thankfully it looks like the paint has covered the weird swirly that existed direct lab middle of the forehead from printing. And we're just going to pop you there. Perfect. And now is the legs. We're going to start with the other leg. But from Gen Con, when I volunteered, um, I did a couple slots a day of running games for people in Pathfinder Society. Um, and while that didn't get me a hotel, for every day that I was there, I got a new t-shirt. Because thankfully, one of the requirements for doing it was every day you must come, you know, bathed and showered and in new clothes. So they provided a t-shirt for every day. And I respected that. I really did. Because nerd stink is no joke. It exists. So just to have the organizing staff go, don't stink when you run our games, please. It's very self-aware, and I enjoy it. You know, I think in general, not a problem for most people. And for some people, probably a problem out of their control. But just a company just going out of their way to go, yep, we're just going to print all these at cost to us. Just to make sure that you can abide by our rules is pretty cool. Even if I have had other issues with their organized play at the time. But that was more personal differences, I think. Maybe one day I'll tell that story. Probably in the future a little bit. Not super scandalous or anything, just long. Okay, see, I'm thinning this more than I thought I would have to. So always remember over-thinning this. And I definitely have lost the line for the leotard, but we'll just make that up as we go. Let's make that up. Lines are imaginary. Right, we're going to let that leg dry. Okay. That's how leg dries. The color should be close. Yeah. That looks pretty good. It's going to dry a little bit darker than it seems, so that is fine. And I usually glue miniatures all together, but I found out for figures like these, it is easier to not glue them together. And just do each piece, and then when I get to the part where I'm gluing the tabs, do a little bit of sanding to get the primer off, so that when I do get the glue connection, it's glue to plastic and not glue to paint. I do have a basil, or a potter that I put a bunch of basil seeds in, and that thing is doing terrible. Like, I threw those seeds in there 6 weeks ago? 5, 6 weeks ago? And it's a potter with, like, new soil mixed into it. Like, it has fertilizer and everything. It just won't even, like, none of the seeds have germinated. At all. They've been in the shade, they've been in the sun. I've tried everything. They just won't germinate for me. Like, I have other herbs that are also kind of slow growing. I have some thyme and some rosemary, and they've been kind of slow, but at least they're showing progress. This basil isn't even trying. Just gave up. Oh man, I want shirts in the Red Cross. Shirts in the Red Cross are kind of weird though, because like, I know you probably get them from donating blood, but if you were to have a shirt from there, like, and I just saw a person on the street with that, I would assume that they A, gave blood, or B, got it from a thrift store. For a while, I used to have like a Day Glow Yellow t-shirt that I wore that had the name of a trash company on it, and I got that at a thrift store just because I thought it was funny. Like, this was somebody's work uniform that somebody else donated thinking it was just like a pep rally t-shirt or something like that. It's like, no. No, it's Day Glow for work safety reasons. So you don't get crushed in a trash truck. It also made me very findable, which is helpful because as a dwarf, I am very short and not able to be seen over crowds. So by putting Day Glow on me, it's like a visual bell. And all the white on the outfit will be done in a white color. Like, I do have the primer is already white, but primer ain't paint. Doesn't have the same quality it'll stick out compared to everything else. Alright, so we're going to let that dry, and alright, we're looking pretty good. Doing the two tones was a good idea. We did paint the face, right? Yeah, okay, perfect. Paint the arms, alright. Alright. So we got the basics down. From here on out, it is just detail work. And I guess the shoes. Yeah, it's all detail work. What does the ribbon look like? Sorry, there's a ribbon on the back. Oh, the ribbon ain't getting done like that. It has cross-hatching, and it is chocolate brown with blue accents, and that ain't getting done that way. That is a blue and brown ribbon to me. That's what my eyes see. But I'm probably not going to need... Oh, wait. The leotard is the same green, right? Yeah, the leotard is the same green. All right, so I will paint the leotard, and that'll be the last thing that I paint on this mini. Is that the same green? Yes, it is the same green. Okay. So I was looking at, like, the color swatches. So I'm going to wait for those legs to dry, and then we're going to go one last hit in on the green. Which I see here trying to separate into its constituent yellow parts. Oh. See, I just got sunglasses, which is like silly. Like, I gave them to my daughter, but like, I wear glasses. What am I going to do with a pair of sunglasses? I'm going to be blind so my eyes don't hurt? I don't, you know? I don't know. It was fine. It was just, I didn't go there for the swag. I went there for the feeling like I'm doing something good. But cool Red Cross shirts. That would be a bonus. I want to relax. I don't want to think about buying a wardrobe. I just want my wardrobe to be there. Just want to earn shirts. I'm just repointing this brush here, this monster brush. This one brush costs as much as the entire pack of these yellow brushes that I have. When you buy stuff that is specific to wargaming, it always has a markup. It is a better brush. It is a sable hair brush instead of these synthetic sable brushes. I'm very surprised with how good these synthetics are, but they're definitely not the same. But for my level, for most things, they're fine. Just not detail. But it's one of those things where you look over, you're like, man, this is so much more expensive than all this stuff. Because I also got these because my daughter got interested in painting stuff. So I got her a set of paint, like, you know, kids washable paint. And it really doesn't like primer. which is a weird thing for Paint not to like. But I printed out some miniatures for her, like a Pikachu and a plane, and we had fun painting those. But these were part of that because I wanted to buy a cheap set of brushes, and I didn't care if she messed up, but I could still like show her on. I'm just gonna mix up the green here, and we're gonna do leotard. I know I'm making an error. All the paint's getting up there. It's probably touching the ferrule. I know it's bad form, but a lot of things are bad form. I'm going to do more things that are bad form. I promise. Okay, it's actually not super dry yet. We can do the front. Back's not dry. Hopefully by the time we're done the front, the back will be dry. And we can get it on the tab, because that's fine, because the tab is going to be sanded down. Am I on? Okay. It took me a lot to organize my camera, because I have it on like 2 boom arms to allow for maximum movability. But it took so much. I unplugged it once, and when you unplug a camera that's in an OBS setting, it just hates it, just freaks out. I had to close OBS like 3 times. I was have to delay stream more. Stream got delayed just because it took longer than I anticipated to get the child down, which is normal. You know, you get caught up reading stories, and then boom. We said it was 10 minutes, and now it's 50 minutes. Alright, where's the trace line? There we go. Oh, okay. There was a weird dip here, courtesy of my 3D printer. I was like, where's the line? Why is it not matching up to where I thought it was? Because there's a dip here. I don't know how well you can see it on my camera, but there's a little dip there in the printing. They did just also announce that Pathfinder and Starfinder, I think both are getting lines of home 3D printable kits or print-on-demand stuff, which is cool, because I think maybe when they did it with the first run of Starfinder, they had minis. Oh man, I went outside the lines there. That's fine. They had Starfinder specific minis, but I'm not sure how well they sold. I know the ship line did not sell well. But Starship Combat and Starfinder First Edition was terrible. And it's not like the designers just didn't pay attention or something like that. I mean, they kind of forced the meta of it, but like, it just didn't match with the rest of the game. It was like war game level stuff that stopped being a role-playing game. And, you know, in general, people don't want to stop playing a role-playing game to play a war game in the middle of a role-playing game. So, they're redoing it for the 2nd edition. See, the books my daughter likes that are big are, she likes hearing the same story over and over. So, like, the big books are cool, but then it's like, oh man, can we, like, read a couple small books? I'm tired of reading this one. The same thing happens in each time. And also, she really likes the long, nonsensical ones by Dr. Seuss. Like, just, like, have, like, nonsense words. She loves those. So, you know, you're like, oh, I could read this, and you can once. But you don't realize that it took you 25 minutes and made you feel kind of silly because you were mispronouncing words that weren't real. All right, I have some slippage on my leotard here. So I can just work it in. I can fix it. On this side is just completely warped. I'm gonna have to come across it again. That's fine. Once again, things I don't think anybody will actually see, so it's just enough that it completes what you'd expect. All right. Gonna one coat. We're gonna one coat wonder that. I might come back later on this one leg just to smooth everything out to make sure there's no uneven pigmentage on the leg. Just come back with really thin stuff, but I'll do that at a later date. What I do want to do before I end stream here is wait for those legs to dry and just kind of dry fit some stuff together and see what it's like. Because while the model won't stay together, it has a pretty good dry fit capability. Not perfect, but pretty good. Don't you fall. I'm gonna put my finger there. Put that there. And then put that there. So, obviously can't dry fit the arms. Well, I can, but they'll just fall off, but it's also going to fall completely apart, but I'm trying to angle it back. There we go. Not like that. We're going to probably clean up those. Ah! See? It's okay. Everything's fine. Actually, it doesn't need to be cleaned up. That's supposed to be white. You can kind of see underneath the thing, which you're not supposed to from this angle, but that's fine. But pretty much like that. I just got to mix some more blue for that, but yeah, we're getting close. Going to try to push this tomorrow once again for that art deadline there, but we'll see. We'll see. But I do have a free night tomorrow night. Probably won't stream it, just to make sure that I can speed it across. Also, I need to get a pad for this saw bench because it is a great saw bench. It is great for sawing things. It has many work holding surfaces. It has a split top so you can saw down it. But it is, at the end of the day, just bare wood with edges. So it is uncomfortable after a while. But I will say thank you for coming, and thank you for joining me for painting, and I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you when I see you next. The next stream will probably end up being, oh, I just realized a cup on this broke. I don't know when that happened. Whatever. Will probably be a My Summer Car stream. But if something does change, and aka I have an interesting word-working project, I'd pivot to that. Once again, thank you for coming, and have a good night, and have a good build.